Hey guy, why don't you just push me out of the way? Ahoy salty dogs, I'm Cap and welcome to StarMade. Today we're playing on the Star Squadron server. This is episode number 19 of our series on this server. And we are having a blast playing with the new rails. Oh my gosh, I can't get over it. So, before I get into the work we've done, I've done a little bit of work on the Salty Shipyard since you last saw it. Just a little though. You're gonna think it's really cool once I turn around, but I noticed this. I don't remember this being announced. The healing beam looks different. There's actually a neat skin for it. So it's kind of trivial little thing I noticed. But I wanted to share that because I don't remember anybody ever saying that was a thing. Okay, so check this out. The Salty Shipyard is running like a well-oiled machine. Watch. Check this out. It juggles. It can juggle. So I made some alterations to a couple of things. The pods are a little different. I switched some of the dockers on them to face the other way, just for the sake of convenience. They'll work better with the loading them into the ships. All I did was the dockers on the top and the bottom, I changed their direction so they face the opposite way they did before. Oh, that one's door's open. But that'll fix that. Clearly, I added a few things onto the Salty Shipyard as well. It was really easy. I put a docking point here that launches the rails to a docking point here that rotates the pods and drops them back onto the rail so they load back into the system. This is kind of the idea here is that if I accidentally trigger the loading mechanism and there's no ship parked, then it doesn't just launch my pods off into space. I also did some alterations to the throwing arm, to the fork. What I did there was I got a lot of good feedback. A lot of people said that I should have just disabled the blue blocks with logic. Thank you for that. That's definitely was a possibility. I was unaware at the time that you could do that, so that didn't occur. But definitely good advice, and we'll be taking advantage of that when we load the pods into the Salty Shipyard. What I did was move them away from the end because I want the shipyard, and as you guys know, if you've been following the series, I want everything to be compact and tight. I want it to feel tight. I want things to be close to each other. I want it to be compact. So I actually I like that it moves down the arm a little bit more. It lets it be more compact. This is as small as I could possibly get it, and my systems still work with other people's cargo pods as well, from what I can tell. The arm currently, I shortened it by a couple of blocks, so this is a little bit shorter. And I also lowered it by a couple of blocks so that I tried to get the center of the pods as low and as close to the ship as I could, or as close to the station as I could, so that it doesn't, because before it was like way up here. It was crazy high. So by shortening it and by lowering it, I was able to pull this whole mechanism down a little bit, and then our ship can dock closer to the station and just, be more compact. That was my goal. And I left exactly the right amount of room. Like, I built this framework thinking, I'm going to need this much space open. I didn't know exactly how much space I was going to need, but I did it right, apparently. I left exactly the amount of room I need. That's awesome. I could build this building up taller, and I may do that. We'll just have to see where the Dragoon ends up docking and how that's going to work. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to work that out with the dock on this side of the ship. I'll have to make it so that it docks somewhere around here, probably. And then we'll have to build maybe like an elevator that goes down to this hallway. That might be what we have to do. When we build the other ship, the one that the cargo pod carrier, it'll have to dock some other way. So, I guess I could use the same dock as the Dragoon. I don't know. We'll get there. But anyway, today we're going to work on the Dragoon. We're going to try and get it fit so that it can accept these pods. We're going to have to make a few changes to that involving the new rails. So I'm going to go ahead and get the Dragoon parked where it's going to ultimately park for the system to work. And we'll get started on those changes. Alright, so I think if my measurements are correct, I think that's where she's going to sit. This should give us like one block of clearance for the pods to go underneath. Let's count actually. Let's see, this lines up with right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the core, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the core. Yeah, so it actually might scrape. But that's okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then scrape. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. We want it as close as possible. Again, you know, we want everything tight. Excuse me. The only thing I had to adjust on the shipyard to get it to fit was this. I had a block here I had to remove, and I kind of carved it out so it looks intentional. But other than that, it fits perfectly fine here. We'll have to build a way to get from this airlock down into the salty shipyard somehow, but I think we can do that with just an elevator that attaches here. So that won't be a problem. Our next course of action is going to be to fit the ship so that it can catch a pod. We'll work on the catch mechanism today. And if we get to it, we can work on the release mechanism as well. We'll also have to find a way to make the pod dock to the shipyard as well, and that's going to be the troubling part. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I'm thinking the easiest way to do this. Let me actually hop out of build mode on the station, and we'll go into the ship. Excuse me, I'm frog in my throat today. I'm thinking the easiest way to go about doing this is we've got all this space here where these beams are that we don't need anymore. We can remove all of this. Whoops, I want that. But yeah, we don't need any of these push or pull beams anymore because we've got the new rails. So that gives me a lot of extra space. We could fill this with thrusters or logic or whatever we need to. But I'm thinking what we do is move the docking point, actually, because now the pods are going to be coming from a different angle than I anticipated them coming from before. Before, I was going to rig it up so they had a push beam. They stopped underneath and then had a push beam on the station that pushed them up. Or rather, a pull beam on the ship that pulled them up. But now they're going to come from this way. We can catch them with one of the blue guys and use the green guys to push them up like this. So I'm thinking we move the docking point to here, which I think that's going to be where it's going to be. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it'll be there, actually. But we should be able to move the docking point to there. And according to this, we want it facing... we want it facing up. Actually, we're not going to try and rotate or anything. Now that means we're going to need to put rails the whole way, like this. And we'll just do the regular rails the whole way, like that. And we can put a rail there also, and we'll do the green rails pointing up. Green, green, green. And like this, and then we'll put a pickup point there. That should be all we have to do to accept a cargo pod. To shoot it out, basically we'll invert these rails and switch these green rails with shootout rails, and then we'll have to put something to catch the pod. That's going to be a little bit more tricky. So I'm not quite sure how we're going to handle that, but this should catch the pods just fine. So I'm going to clean this up, clear this out, and work on the logic to make this happen. I want to be able to tie these buttons to wireless logic or to inner ship remotes. that let us control this mechanism as well as this mechanism from inside the ship. So after some refining, I've got everything hooked up. We did have to move this stuff around. We had to do some manipulation with logic and stuff. But it should all be working now. If we hit the wireless, or if we hit the button in the ship, then it'll grab a pod and send it to us, and that should dock it to the ship. I've also went ahead and rigged up the eject mechanism for the ship, but not for like the receiving end on the station. So you can see I finally took advantage of one of these screens. I'm not sure what's going to go on this screen yet. But on this screen, we've got button controls. So get pod is the left one. There's a button in the middle that's undefined, and then launch pod is on this side. So we can hit get pod. Let's hop in the ship core so we can watch this in build mode. You can kind of see how I've got it rigged up, but it catches the pod and loads it into the ship. Easy peasy, right? There we go, and it seats perfectly, just fine. This will work with any of the other pods on the Star Squadron server. I made sure the ship would work with those. I haven't tried it with the pod full, so that could be an issue, but now if we hit release pod, this is going to launch it at the station. But it basically just inverts and uses the shootout rails to launch it downward. That's it. We're going to have to go retrieve that pod, park it in the shipyard, and put it back in the queue, but that's what we've got so far. Alright, so a release mechanism escapes me. Get it? Release escapes? No, bad joke. Okay. Anyway, a release mechanism escapes me, but I did manage to incorporate a failsafe so that if there's already a pod loaded in the Dragoon, then it just kind of sends the other pods back in the loop. So let's go ahead and check that out now. Right now there is no pod loaded, so we're going to hit the button, and we'll hop in build mode so we can kind of watch. And so this will catch our pod just like expected. There we go. So pod caught. It's loaded in. As soon as it's loaded all the way in, we can go ahead and, all right, let's launch another pod now. Before, if we had just launched it, would get stuck and caught on the green rails. And I guess the Dragoon could hold 2 pods that way, but it's not really how it's intended. So we can launch another rail, and this time, instead of the Dragoon catching it, the station catches it, and it'll send it back in the queue. Alright, so I took a break from working on the return system, mainly because I'm out of ideas. I don't really know what I wanted to do yet, and that's okay. You know, we got to take our time with these kinds of things. You don't want to rush into stuff. I got a lot done today, though, to be perfectly honest, and I'm really happy with the work I did get done. I would have liked to do a little bit more, but that's what we got on the Dragoon anyway. I was able as well to build this elevator we're in now. This elevator, whoops, I'm not in gravity. This elevator is what's going to take us up to where the Dragoon sits from the rest of the ship, or the rest of the station, I guess. So you can see there's the eyes and ears. We're back to the bottom. It just connects just kind of like we planned. And so, yeah, that works great. It's very functional, and it looks good as well. The only thing now, though, is that if I want to get to the Dragoon, I have to walk all the way through the station or teleport to it, I guess. Which isn't so bad. I mean, when we're testing and stuff like that, it's hard to, you want to be able to move around quickly and get from your ship to a build block, back to your ship and whatnot, especially when we're testing something like this receiving thing that we're trying to make, because you're back and forth a lot. But at the same time, I really want to spend as much time as I can in astronaut mode while I'm at the salty shipyard, because that's the whole point. I feel like that's the whole reason that I've got everything looking nice and decorated all fancy and stuff, is because of astronaut mode. When people come over, they're not going to be sitting in build mode hanging out. They're going to be in astronaut mode walking around looking at stuff. So I want to make sure that astronaut mode looks nice as well. So one other small project I was able to work on was the docking... Hey, guy. Why don't you just push me out of the way? One other small project I was able to work on is the docking control room here. So I got this working. Basically, we've got 4 buttons. They're going to control the public docks that are there. We'll take a look at those in a moment. The buttons toggle the lights on and off. They also toggle the docks on and off. There is a flashing green indicator light for each dock. So we're going to do this 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, so those all will be on. They're all illuminated. When we go out and look at the docks, they'll all be flashing in order as well. I wasn't hopping a build block and fly over here to look at it, but you can see they're flashing in sequence 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. And we can just turn on whichever one we want our guests to park at. I also did this public dock sign. I think that's cool. We kind of got the same kind of font. I guess it's a font, the same kind of font that we did for the Hub Pub out here at the public docks, but this is take it or leave it for sure. All I need to do is change the text on these display modules and cap this off somehow. I'm not sure how I want to cap this off. I might just shear it off right here and call it done. I left it open because I wasn't sure if I wanted to extend anything that way, though, so we may extend something, we may not. Who knows? I don't. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning into this episode today. I know this is a short one, but we got a whole lot of stuff accomplished. There were so many things that we did today. I have been working on this episode for hours now. And I know it's a shorter episode, which is kind of counterintuitive, but we really did a lot of things today. If you liked the video, don't forget to leave a like for me. And let me know what you think of the pod mechanism that we built today. If you can think of any ways that we can improve it, I'd love to hear them. If you have any ideas for the receiver end of it, I'm still scratching my head on that one. Let me know what you think about that as well. And I'll see you guys in the comments. Have a good one.